The other screener I had this week was Witchboard. Now, Witchboard, if you remember, there was a movie called Witchboard, I do believe, and I could be wrong about this. I didn't look it up, in the 80s. And I believe it was about a Ouija board. And I think it had Tawny Katane in it from the Whitesnake videos. That's about all I remember about Witchboard. It's Axe or something. Anyway, this Witchboard is directed by Chuck Russell. Now, Chuck Russell, that name might strike a chord in your brain. Chuck Russell's had some big 80s, 90s movies, very mainstream too. I think he did Eraser. He did the Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which is one of the best of that series. Really fun, really cheesy, very 80s cheese now, but very fun. The Mask, a huge hit, obviously. It wasn't a big budget movie at the time. It was a sleeper hit in some ways, but it was big enough, and it had, with all the people had it in early CGI and stuff, it got a lot of buzz. And then he also did the remake of The Blob from the 80s, which is it's become a real underground hit for horror fans. The Blob remake is pretty great. And if you haven't checked that out, especially if you like movies like The Thing and stuff that they did in the 80s, The Blob is one of those, kind of a retake on an older property that they did a great job, and a very fun horror movie. Now, Witchboard, we're looking at this movie. This movie is a confounding one. First of all, it's not a huge budget movie, but it's got some polish to it. It's a little bit of a glossy, almost soap opera, like nighttime soap opera look to it, which is an old-fashioned term now, 90210 or something like that. It's got a sheen to it that I didn't expect for this kind of lower budget movie. There's a slickness here. And like 90210, you've got a lot of beautiful young people preposterously thrown into this, supposed to be this kind of gritty situation. What is your basic situation here? You start out with a little prologue in Witchboard where you've got a bunch of witches literally at a clearing in the woods doing their ceremony. They have all these human severed hands hanging from trees, and they're using their Witchboard, because the Witchboard in this case, it's like a proto Ouija board. Basically, it's a circular disc of, like a wooden disc with carvings in it, and I'll have things like yes or no in Latin, and it has different symbols, and you put a pendulum, you hang a pendulum from a string or a chain over the center eye of it, and then the pendulum will swing and move towards the answers to your questions. So essentially it works like a Ouija board. Anyway, you got this witches gathering way in the past, like in the, 1500s or 1600s. They probably told me, but I forgot. And gets disrupted by the witch finder, and a big battle ensues. And the witch and everybody, and people die. And the Witchboard is left on the ground with blood soaking into it, which it sucks up immediately. And then flash forward to present day, and some unknown person is stealing the Witchboard from a museum in New Orleans. So this is a relic now. And then you flash forward again, and you just have this group of, like I said, beautiful teenager / 20-somethings, probably 20-somethings, I would say. And they're all in the woods searching for fungi and truffles and mushrooms and things, because the main dude, what is his name? Christian, played by Aaron Dominguez, is searching for ingredients for his brand new restaurant in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And his girlfriend Emily is helping him, and she's looking around the woods for these mushrooms, and guess what she finds? The Witchboard, just laying on the ground randomly. And she brings it back, of course. And then there's other characters here, don't matter as much, but a whole little Scooby-Doo group of people. And I was like, okay, so basic setup. He found this ancient Witchboard. It's going to be cursed or something. And at first I thought, this is going to be like a B-grade Final Destination movie, because really quickly, the main character ends up being Emily. It's Emily and Christian, but Emily is the main one. She starts playing around with the Witchboard and trying to use it. She's shown the basics of it. And while she's doing it, this whole chain of events happens in Christian's kitchen, causing one of the workers there to have a demise, I say. It's a very like a Final Destination-esque kind of a sequence where it's this thing's turning on and another thing's going to slip and spill, and all these events are going to happen. It's going to lead to this kind of a string of events that's going to cause someone to get killed in a creative way. And I thought, okay, that'll be fun if this whole thing is a bunch of Final Destination kind of kills caused by this cursed Witchboard. They're going to have to figure out how to destroy it or something. A basic concept, but it would be a basic horror movie, a trope done effectively. But no, it kind of veers away from that, and it gets very convoluted, and it becomes like a body swap movie at one point, and a whole history of the old witch thing that we saw coming into play with the current reality. And then there's a whole like modern, there's like almost this Eyes Wide Shut sort of a thing going on, where you've got this rich manor and this very overacted character, Alexander Baptiste, played by James Campbell Bower, where he's like this antiquities expert, but he also might be the evil guy who has these blonde witch triplet like sidekicks with him. Yeah, you're just like, if you're starting to get confused and starting to say, Bruce, what is this mess you're describing? It's true, it is a mess. This ends up being like a huge convoluted thing. Now, to some people, that might be something to praise. Oh my gosh, they really went out on a limb with this and did something different. But like I said, to me, it's a mess. It almost feels like it could have been like part of a series. Like they could have extended it out. Not that it was that interesting, but the way that there are so many different characters and plot lines and elements thrown into the quote gumbo of this, it felt like they had a bigger, longer story they could have made out of this, but it got compressed into a single movie. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough fun here. I would say there's like 3 moments where it goes a little gonzo and you have the crazy death scenes. There's one on a rooftop. There's one I already described in a kitchen. And there's one in the restaurant opening, which was a lot of fun, even though it was addled by some really cringy CGI. The idea of it was pretty fun. And I wish if it had just kept that sort of crazy energy throughout the whole movie and just leaned into the camp more, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But as it was just a silly mess that overall, it just didn't do much for me. Witchboard, I'm only going to be able to give it, I'm going to go 2.5 stars. Because it had enough fun moments that I could have really gone with it if it had just leaned into that more. It's 2.5 stars.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.